Hi, my name is Dan Lutz and I'm addressing the Billion Coin community, as well as the GCR community. I'm here at the Cyberport in the southern part of Hong Kong. It's along the beach and it's an area that's been built up by the most wealthiest landowner in Hong Kong. He built this entire complex not that long ago, but it's filled with people today just enjoying a rugby match out on the big screen TV over there. And I was just relaxing after a solid week of meetings. And it's Sunday. I just came from worship service, and I thought I'd catch everybody up on what I've been doing here in Hong Kong and China. So mostly this has to do with the GCR, though I did meet with people for TBC, to expand the TBC community here. A lot of the overseas foreign workers from the Philippines are here, and it's really big in the Philippines, so it's also big up here with the overseas workers. So I just want to go over some of the things that that's very obvious when you're here in Hong Kong and in China, is the amount of wealth that is here. This is by far the most expensive place to be. I've stayed at many hotels around the world, and five-star hotels here are amazing. Last night I was at the Ritz-Carlton. Also went to its Ozone bar at the 118th floor, and basically you're up in the ozone. And I've been taking a note at some of the values of properties in one condominium of a friend of mine over here. There's over $20 million for that condominium in that complex, which is a very vast complex. There's even homes that were costing over $100 million. And this is not just one building. This, all of throughout China, they're huge buildings. Shenzhen is just the other side of Hong Kong. It is super on the go. Very large building complexes being made over there. Property values also astronomical. One place I was looking at, it was $140,000 per square meter. So it's amazing to see the amount of wealth that's here. And as an American, as I grew up and I had an understanding about Asia in general, that was not my impression that it had a lot of wealth. It was my impression that well, mostly China was had rickshaws and no horses. Everything was carried by a guy in a big straw hat. I've not even seen that in China. I think touring some of the rice fields, I have seen people wearing those big hats like that, but the China and Hong Kong, they're bustling cities. There's a lot of things going on here. In Hong Kong, all the cars are new, and they're the very expensive models. I've seen more Teslas here than I did in West Los Angeles. In just a few minutes, I could see 5 Teslas go by. There is a lot going on here, and you have to go back to 100 years ago, into the 1930s, to see what was going on in the world. And the system that we have we've been living in started nearly 400 years ago. This starts when the colonial powers were going around the world, and they were looking for resources, gold, silver, and other things to trade. And as they expanded across the world, they ran into the Asians, and of course they found out that they had vast sums of wealth. The Maharajas in India were famous for the amount of treasure that they had. Humongous hoards of treasure. And throughout the Asian area, there was so much wealth all the time. They were very accustomed to the royal families of those times to have so much wealth. And what happened is around the 1800s, we had the American industrialists that gained a lot of power. Now, normally power was reserved for the royals. So around the world, wherever there was any sort of power source, it was related to a royal family. But the American industrialists, because America was quite different, it was unique. People were free, and through that freedom, they were able to go out and create. And they created many forms of businesses that the monarchies never had seen before. We even had things like this, the railroads that created a way of transporting goods from one side of the country to the other. It made a lot of wealth for a lot of people. So our American industrialists were, quite rightly, very impressed with what they've achieved, and that gave them power. The problem is that they were not in the club of the royals. And so this made a conflict. This conflict resulted in basically disrespect of each other. And that from that system of that was being developed basically through Wall Street and through insurance and trade and industrialization, that amount of power that was being generated should have been respected by the royals. But so the people in the new club, or the new money club, that had power were feeling a little bit abused by the royals. That's your new money. They won't associate with them. So what naturally happened was the industrialists decided that they were going to play the game and actually create a new system, but they decided they were going to control all of it. And though they were working with the royal families to develop an abundance system, they also decided they were going to be in control. And as such, in the system that was put into place, all the royals' assets were locked away into trusts, and a system was put into place that was going to guarantee abundance across the world. But what happened is that only certain countries got the wealth because the Fed had the keys to the money that were given to them. Now, the system was supposed to work from humanitarian projects. Once these were put forth in any country, they should be funded. And the funding comes by trading the projects, humanitarian projects, from each of the other projects that were around, but they'd mark them up as they go. And as things got higher and higher in value, that generated more liquidity that was put into the system to pay people. So it all worked by there being an asset to back the whole venture. The project was initiated, the money was generated, and it was supposed to flow out to the projects that would pay people, and that would cause the flow of money to go into the economies around the world. So now we have a system that has run amok because the royal assets have not been used in a long time. We've only had fiat, and the value of that money in purchasing power is decreasing rapidly. It is going down so quickly that like we've seen in Zimbabwe, where we might need in America $100 trillion notes to buy dinner. Now, you think it might be far-fetched, but it's not. It could go that fast very quickly. To stem this off, because they knew that there was an issue, and so the system has been trying to prepare itself to have a transition to an asset-backed system. So the Basel III banking regulations were put into place, and through the end of 2014 they were supposed to all the banks were supposed to be compliant, but it actually didn't happen until the end of 2015, which means they had to actually have 7% of their asset to back all of their loans. Now, that's not what it was way back when, but 7% was better than 0. And now they're going to have Basel IV, which is going to increase that to 10%. So hopefully we're going to go to a completely asset-backed system, but we will see if we get to that. Right now, what we're working with and what has been going on has to do with what happened 100 years ago in the 1930s. The Fed basically took in asset and gave bonds to the royal families. These bonds were supposed to be redeemed in gold. That means they get their gold back, treasure back, because it wasn't always gold. Sometimes it's platinum, jewelry, silk, other things of value were put into deposit into into the system. So the bonds were given out to these royal families, and in 30 years or 50 years they were to be redeemed. And when they went to go redeem them and receive their gold back and their interest in gold, they were told, these are fake. These are fake bonds. Bring us the real ones and then we'll give you your stuff back. Of course, these were the real items, and basically the royals had been scammed by the Fed. They basically had taken the gold of the royal families, and who knows where it's at. Even today, where is it? So there's even more gold around than what was put up at that time. And so the royal families are looking to use it again to back a new system. And this brings us to our current conflict. How do we resolve all this debt that was created? Well, the asset is actually, that's available, is much, much larger than the debt. Even though the debt seems astronomical for an American, thinking of the national debt of around 20 trillion. Just to put that in perspective, one of these boxes in the 1930s, a Treaty of Versailles box, had stamped on the side of it 3 trillion. Based upon the asset. How much asset would that represent, of 3 trillion for one of these boxes? And there was more than hundreds of these boxes, more than thousands of these boxes, and there are actually tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of different kinds of boxes. I've heard numbers of upwards of 2 million boxes. All of these boxes were in very large numbers, and all of it represented by backing by either gold or land. So all other treasures as well, platinum, as I said, silver. So these debts that we are looking at that need to be solved are not really large. They are actually small. So just if you have 20 trillion national debt, this is in essence just the debt that the slaves are in. The slaves don't have much money. So the debt slaves keep working and working and working to pay off debt forever and ever and ever, but they're never able to do so. The debt always increases. But again, this is just the script that they allowed the slaves to have compared to the amount of wealth that was really in the world. So how do we get out of the system? How do we get out of this problem in the system? The problem of there being so much debt and everyone can't move because there's no liquidity can be resolved by allowing the debt to be paid off, allowing for a new system to come about that uses the existing system to a certain extent, but also allows us to move past it. So the existing system, we need to look at how much debt there actually is, and then use asset to wipe it out. It's just accounting. But in doing so, the ones that have had power over everybody lose that power. If you don't have debt anymore, you will act differently. You will be able to go out and maybe make business. And when you make business and you are successful, you make power. That means power is then redistributed to everybody. This is where the problem lies, in my opinion, is that it's more about the power to control people. When, as an American, we grew up with the idea of liberty, of freedom, and wanting to do the best that we can for the world. This is very much still strong in America, but everybody is so basically a deer in the headlights. They see the debt train slamming them right at them, and they don't know what to do. So part of moving past where we are is going to have to be having an understanding of what our responsibilities are. Now, we are responsible for ourselves, and we're responsible for our families, and our responsibility is for our community. And we have to all be strong and understand that we don't want to get into a situation where the powers that have been trying to keep us under control want to create situations that cause war, that cause civil unrest. So what we have to do is move past this, move into a place where we are responsible for ourselves. One of the reasons TBC has been so important has been because it is abundance-based. It's programmed to go up based upon the number of people that join. It's very simple, so it's very easy for it to continue to expand. And and as of today, and if you look back since our 1-year anniversary, there has been a big spike in the number of people joining TBC. In fact, before it was actually a little bit of a slump for the last months. It was 500 to 800 people a day joining, and it kind of dropped down to just about 400 or 500 people a day. But now it's zoomed way past that, and we're doing 1,000 or 2,000 people in a day. And I haven't done all the numbers, but I was looking very closely at some of them, and we are expanding quickly now. So TBC has the power to give people abundance, and then we are responsible to go out and use that. So part of this is one piece, and it's very important. Now, what I've been dealing with here in Hong Kong and China is really setting up to work with the people who have been holding asset for these, or the bonds or the historical assets of that time when all these bonds were put out. Now, they've been in safekeeping under a system that was created by the previous government in China before the communists. That was basically a democratic movement by Chiang Kai-shek, who was part of a royal family. This system was put into place where mountain warehouses were basically a vault system dug into the base of mountains, would store these assets. It also, not just the bond boxes, actually stored gold. And these mountains, the mountain system around China, which also included Taiwan, and also some other places around where these systems were put in place, were basically military installations. They each had a commandant of the mountain. Basically, someone that had a military rank ran them. But when the communists took over, there basically was a flee to Taiwan with a lot of these assets, but not all of them. So all these mountain warehouses under the old government still held them in their charge. There's been a standoff since then, and this is now 70 years ongoing of these between the two sides, the two Chinas that are holding the assets. But this is a time of resolution to actually allow for these assets to be redeemed, these assets to be brought forth and used by the world and to do new humanitarian projects around the world, and move past where we've been and get out of the system that was setting us up for war, but not just because they gained power in war, but they wanted to reduce the population of the world. Overpopulation of the world is ridiculous. There's so much vacant land. We are very ingenious people. We know exactly how to build very tall buildings and put people straight up. We can make food as we need it. And yes, we don't want to pollute, but we don't have to be stupid and say that CO2, which is a natural gas that the plants use to create oxygen, is a pollutant. We have to be smart and realize that we were being set up. We are in a very abundant planet, and we can sustain quite a large population, much greater than where we are, and it's not something that we should be really focused on. The ideas of climate change, before it was global warming, while they were talking about global warming for so many years, and then it became, oh no, it's not warm anymore, it's getting cool. And it looks like I'm also losing my light out here. But this, so anyway, we're at the point where we have the ability to move forward and close the previous chapter where we had a debt system and move into an abundance system. I've had talks with the mountain peoples here in China about using cryptocurrency. I've had talks with the people in the Philippines also about using asset for cryptocurrencies. And this is something that is this is time to start thinking, how do we program abundance for the world? So we are in this time where there is a understanding that we are leaving this debt-based system, but we need to have an idea of how do we solve the problem so we don't run into the same things as we did this last system, where a small group of people that own the banks end up controlling everything and treating everyone like cattle, and is known as chattel. So we need to focus on that. So part of this global currency reset is revaluing these assets, giving them a value so huge that it dwarfs the size of our debt, making it very simple to pay off the world debt. And we are set to do that. It is very close. And a lot of the new money that's backed by asset is already in play. So it's underway, and there will be a fantastic future for all of us. So with that, I will say goodbye, and I'll give you another update soon. Bye-bye.